and we can,
You are
okay, John,
recording.
recording. Okay, then I will call the meeting of the Conservation Commission for January 19th open. And we do have a quorum. And I will ask for approval of the December 15th meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second it.
Moved in second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Right, so moved. And we did not have a meeting on the 5th, so we have a new public hearing for 241 Forest Street, lot known as number 3. And we have a notice of intent and a general stormwater permit. And it's for New Stu LLC, Joseph Herrera, manager, single family home with a septic system. And we are open, and looks like we have the DEP number, so we should be all set.
Yep, and Cameron is going to present it.
Okay,
You need the plan, Cameron, or do you want?
If you'd like to pull it up, that'd be great. Or I have access, I can pull it up also.
No, I'm going to have you do it, so I'm going to let you share the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all yours.
All right. I am sharing it right now. All right. Can everybody see that?
Mhm.
All right. So good evening, Commission. My name is Cameron Larson with Environmental Consulting and Restoration. Tonight representing the applicant New Stu LLC to present to you this notice of intent for lot 3 off of Forest Drive. This lot's part of 237 Forest Street. The lot was split off from it. This portion of the lot is undeveloped. There is a existing single family home nearby that was on the old larger lot. But this portion is undeveloped, partially forested. ECR located a wetland along the western portion of the site, which you can see here. The limit over here, this A series, the buffer zone to that wetland extends over a portion of the property. So what we're proposing through this notice of intent is the construction of a new single family home. It's a buffer zone only project. A portion of the home is located within the 100-foot buffer. You can see the 100-foot buffer extends through this western portion of the proposed house. So a small portion of the house, some grading, the infiltration system for roof runoff, and some landscaping will be located in the buffer zone. Everything will be outside of the 50-foot buffer. Prior to the start of work, we'll install erosion controls to protect that nearby wetland resource area. And then once work is completed, everything will be, all the work area will be restored. All the disturbed areas will be restored, utilizing, a friendly, environmentally friendly grass seed mix. We're also proposing any landscape material in the buffer zone to be native. So that basically summarizes the project. If the commission has any questions at this time, I'd be happy to answer those.
John, do you have anything?
I have no issues with the project. It meets all the requirements. If we do close the hearing and vote to issue a order of conditions, it will require conservation markers to be set along the 50-foot wetland buffer. And I'll put that in the order of conditions. And and I don't think the plan has to be revised.
Lot 4, the one, as you look at the plan to the right, that's the one that's under construction now?
I believe so. I think that was the one
Okay.
that was confirmed through the RDA, if
Yep.
I'm mistaken.
You want to see all of them or just the one person?
Okay. Anybody have any other questions, comments?
I don't. The only comment, John already made it, and that's putting the markers down. Again, how close are they, John? Do we specify how close each marker has to be?
So most of the plans come in with the markers on it that they show where they're going to put them, and it's usually roughly 30 to 40 feet apart.
Okay. That should be sufficient, I would think. But that was my only question. I'm fine.
All right, hearing no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. I will entertain a motion to issue a standard order of conditions with a note to update the plan as to where the markers will be located.
And I'll make that motion as well.
I will second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And I will entertain a motion to issue a general stormwater bylaw permit.
I'll make that motion too.
I will second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Commission. We appreciate it.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. All right, that is all we had for a new public hearing, and we have no continued public hearings. So we have 21 Roosevelt Ave, a request for certificate of compliance.
Yeah, I don't see anybody on the lineup that shows that they're going to represent the plan. So I can just bring it up and let the commission take a look at it because it's fairly straightforward. Just bear with me here for a second.
That's okay.
We just did the 241 Forest Street.
Yep.
Yes.
That's not the one. Okay, this one is 21 Roosevelt Avenue. This was a plan that was presented to the commission, making all kinds of colors here, sorry. Back in 2006, I believe. Yeah, 2006, June of 2006. It was for a septic system repair. The commission issued an order of conditions to allow the septic system to be placed in this area here, and it was never installed. So the owner has hired Collins Engineering to do another septic design, and so rather than using a leach field over on this side, they're going to be using a different technology over here, probably more appropriate for the size of the house and so forth. So in those 14 to 15 years, they are looking at a different technology rather than a leach field. So they've already submitted an application for a filing at your next meeting, I guess. And so in order to close out the one that never got built, they requested the certificate of compliance. And so I'd recommend that since it was never built, that we issue a -3 with the category checked off that the permit had expired and the construction was never commenced. So in effect, it just wipes it off the books and that it was never built. So that's my recommendation.
Did they have a reason for it?
I don't know why they waited so long, because George Collins did this one in 2006, and now he's doing the one that we'll be looking at the next meeting. And so I have no idea why they didn't start it, but
I'm sure George Collins is not going to complain.
Of course not.
Just
Did
more
they
billable hours.
Did they originally place it there to get it outside the 50? Because I noticed the new proposed area would be inside the 50. Is that right?
yes.
And how do we react to that? Any thoughts there?
No, we
I haven't really looked at the new plan, but we would require, when it's within the 50 feet, we would require some form of mitigation, such as maybe a conservation easement or some agreement that the new landowner new homeowner wouldn't encroach into the wetlands. So we'll have to beef up the mitigation requirements due to that.
Right.
And I mean, at least this one will be able to get markers put on it.
Yeah.
Which the original order wouldn't have. I mean, my only comment would be looking at it, depending on how they're putting it and where they're putting it. And I'm not sure what was removed in the original plan, but you might be losing at least 2 trees off of that
Yeah.
left side. One is definitely within the 50 foot. So we might want to look at getting something replaced somewhere of size if they're going to take that one down.
So are they just adverse to putting it in the same location, even with a new technology, or won't it work?
I don't know. We're going to have to ask him when he submits that or when we hold the hearing on the other one. So that would be a good question to ask.
It doesn't look like it's on this side over here. The new one is over by well, I guess there's going to be probably grass area or whatever, but still, I mean, it's going to be over by the driveway, and I don't know. It just doesn't. The old one, huh? Well, I don't know. I guess it all depends on how high it's going to stick out of the ground.
Yeah.
Well, I'm seeing here a note on this old one that they were going to have to relocate a gas service. They were awfully close to the water line, so they were going to have to sleeve it.
Yeah.
Digging it up and replacing it with a pipe within a pipe, so they'd have a larger pipe with water service running through it, so that if the septic system had any issues, it wouldn't affect the water service. So there's probably some costs here that they've been able to eliminate by moving it over on the other side. That's my guess.
Yep.
But we can ask them.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just moving it to the other side, the piping, I'm not quite sure how you'd get it. Either you'd have to dig through or under the driveway, or figure out a way to trench it and go under the sunroom and deck, which those don't look like they're permanent foundations. So unless the driveway needs to get replaced anyways, that's going to be an expense to get it to the other side, unless they're going out the back of the house and all the way around. So we got some questions to ask.
Yeah, and depending on what size, if it's the same size.
So I'll make sure that we note those questions and ask them at the next hearing, so that just in case we get busy and we forget, although you guys got better memories than me, so but we'll do that. We'll get those answers at the next one.
All right, then I'll entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance with a -3 and making note that the project was never built and the permit expired.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. All right. Next we have Pleasant Street,
Pleasant Street.
map 65 lot 7.
Okay, so this is the billboard site. Let me see if I have it up on my screen here. I do. All right, so this was the original site plan for relocating a billboard sign that sits right in this area out to this area here in the wetlands, and so the commission approved it with a whole bunch of mitigation being offered by the applicant. One of them was that there would be a parking area here where people using the Bay Circuit Trail, which runs right in front along Pleasant Street here, could pull in and park, and they would have this area of a path to be able to walk in and adjacent to the wetland. In addition, they were going to replicate for whatever disturbance they made getting out, working on and installing the foundation for the billboard, and that's what this area is here. They were going to be putting benches along this path, and also as part of the mitigation, they were going to establish a fund which we could offer scholarships to the West Bridgewater High School students who were going into the environmental field, and so that had been approved, and it actually got amended once. So there were two order of conditions, one for the original proposal and the second one with some additional work that they were planning to do, and they haven't done any of it except for we approved another option, which is to build a contractor's yard up here with stormwater and the same billboard. But in order to be able to get the permit for the billboard, they had to have a contractor's yard on the site so that the Mass DOT would permit it. And it still hasn't been permitted. I think their hearing is in February sometime. So we approved that one with a contractor's yard and stormwater system and so forth. And so in order to get the other ones off the books that hadn't got built yet, the original sign still sits here. They have to ask for a certificate of compliance. So I would recommend issuing the certificate of compliance just like we did for Roosevelt Ave, the negative number 3, that it hadn't been built. But we have to include the fact that some of the items in the order of conditions might carry over into the second order of conditions. Actually, the original order conditions, the amended order conditions for the same project, and then if there are any of those conditions that apply to the second one, which is for the contractor's yard to be added in up here, those need to be carried over. So my recommendation is that when we issue the certificate of compliance, the document will reference anything that needs to be carried over to the second order of conditions. Sounds pretty complicated, but it's just right now a bookkeeping type thing to get rid of the other projects.
So they haven't done anything, John?
No. Well, they started a contractor's yard up here, well outside the 100-foot buffer, and they installed their erosion control and that kind of thing. But as far as the sign and anything else being moved, they can't do that until they get the Mass DOT permit.
Okay, so they haven't really done the trail or established the scholarship or anything, huh?
No, but they're working on all of that because the contractor's yard permit required all those same things.
All right.
That's where I'm getting the carryover. We got to make sure that we're not relieving them of any of those original agreements.
Okay.
Yep. All right, any other questions?
Oh,
Hearing none, then I will entertain a motion to issue a -3 with John's comments for carrying over all the details from the first plan.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So moved. Okay,
Scott, are you able to bring up Vit's Way, or should I?
Okay, John, that'd be good.
and this one is for lots 6, 10, and 14 Vitz Way for a request for partial certificate of compliance.
So good evening. My name's Scott Rogers from JK Home Engineering. Before you, we have a request for a partial certificate of compliance. Basically, all the work has been completed short of hydro seeding. There was some hydro seeding that was done probably late fall, but we didn't get very much coverage. So we would basically be going back in the springtime and hydro seeding all the areas that require that. And then we'd be asking for a final certificate of compliance. But at this point, we'd like to get the partial if that's okay with the commission.
Does the partial hold you back from finishing or doing what you have to do with the rest of the project?
No.
Okay, so why not wait until everything is all done?
I guess it's good we've already submitted the partial. I guess it's good to get that underway. Like I said, most of the work has already been done except for the hydro seeding. So.
Do we normally do partial certificates?
No, we don't.
That's what I was wondering.
So what my thought is that since we don't do partials, that we require a cash surety for the unfinished work, which would be the rehydro seeding and possibly patching where any of the loam that's been put down that might wash out over the winter and into the spring, put it down there. So I asked Scott by an email, I don't know if he saw it, to come up with what he thought was a reasonable estimate of what that cost would be. And then what we could do is issue a full certificate with a surety that would make sure the rest of it gets done.
Yeah, because springtime, if we get a lot of rain, after the ground thaws out and everything, everything could just wash away.
Yep.
And it's gonna have to be done. And then we'll have to sit there and wait and make sure that everything does get done. So this is a good way of doing it.
So when I was out there doing my inspection, somebody had, and I don't know whether it was because they thought it was going to be fun, that maybe there was snow on the ground and it kind of blended in so they couldn't see it, but somebody drove a vehicle from here right through the stormwater basin and back up the slope. And you could see the tracks in the loam that they had, the ruts that they had left. So those are the types of things that the surety would cover. So I don't know if you had a number, Scott, or do you want us to come up with one?
I kind of looked at it briefly and I talked with the site contractor and I thought $3,000 would cover that.
Times 2, maybe?
Yeah, I was gonna say 4, maybe 5.
Yeah, we could do 5, I guess.
I'm recommending 6.
Okay, if it gets done correctly, they get it back. So,
Yeah, you got nothing to lose. Yep.
no.
And considering we already know that there's gonna have to be some repair work.
Yeah.
Um,
And this could, yeah. Yep.
All right, then I will entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance with a surety of $6,000.
Before you do that,
Yep.
before you get a second or something, there is a requirement that this trench drain drains into either one of these, and I'm not sure which one, or both. I'd have to go back to the original plan, but it doesn't show the connection into the stormwater basin or into the grit chamber that's right here. So that will have to be added in to the as-built when the looming and seating is done. So there'll be an additional revision to the as-built at that time as well. So that's why I'm bumping it up to the 6.
John, did each one of those trench drains not show that connection? Because it looks like the next one down in the series.
No, neither one of them did.
Yep, okay.
And I spoke to Scott about it, and he said they would go back in the spring and add that in once they were doing the final.
Okay.
So it was actually done with no modification on the drawing, or it was never done?
It just doesn't show on the as-built, so I don't know whether it was just an oversight on the field crew that went out or on behalf of Scott to locate it, or whether it doesn't go anywhere. So that we'll have to determine that in the spring when we can lift
Yeah.
up the grates and look in there and see what's happening.
Okay.
If I can get them open sooner, I'll know sooner and be able to work with the engineer before the spring. So if that's not an issue and we open it up and see that it's connected, then we'll have the answer and he can just modify his as-built.
Okay. You want me to amend the,
No, I just was pointing out that there
Yeah,
was
okay.
additional things here that made me consider a little bit more than the 3, 4, and 5 numbers that we had
Yep.
heard.
So you needed a second, I
Yes.
mean, a motion or a second?
I need the motion.
I'll make the motion.
Yeah, but is there a reason why it's not put on there right now?
I think it was really a drafting change, or we skipped on the drafting part of it. I believe that the trench drain has an outlet that goes to those basins. I just don't think it made it to the plan.
So, okay, so we'll take your word that it's done right now.
And if not, that's what the money will fix if it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll second it then.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so moved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
All right, we have 359 Pleasant Street, map 65, lot 9, a request for order of condition extension.
Just a little bit.
All right, so let me find that one.
If I remember right, that's the storage facility?
Yes.
Okay.
It's taken them a long time to add on to the storage, it seems like, isn't it?
So
I think they were tearing down as they were putting the new ones in. But yeah, it does seem like it's been a
Yeah.
while.
I mean, if anything, that seemed like that'd be a pretty well cut dry, just a drop and go, put them up, nothing really that big. What do we know?
All right, so can everybody see it?
Yep.
So this project started off as, whoop. What are you guys seeing? A picture?
Roberts.
Or Roberts.
Robert's Way.
Sorry, I don't know how that happened. Let's see.
Nice house, though.
He's all thumbs tonight.
All right, are you seeing the plan now finally?
No,
Nope, not yet.
we did have it for a second.
Yeah,
but-
it was there for a second.
I don't know what happened. Let me stop and try again. How's that?
There we go.
So originally 359 was the original Atlas self-storage facility, and Mr. Griffith purchased the property and is operating it as the West Bridgewater self-storage entity of some sort. So he had planned on tearing down and rebuilding some of the old kind of worn out structures that were there on this parcel only, the top half of what you see on the plan. And so he got an order of conditions for that. And then after he got going there, he acquired the land on the bottom half from Mr. Shalick, who owned most of the land on that side down to Maple Street. One of the sites went to Plant's materials handling site, which is where they have all that pine bark mulch and other things being manufactured there. So Mr. Griffith bought this piece here, and that's called 401, and he's under construction on that. So he's still got a little bit more to do on 359, and that permit is about to expire. And so he's asking to have that extended so he can complete the work on 359 and continue working on 401 under the other DEP file number. So there is a little overlap on both of them because of the new stormwater management system and so forth. And he has made very good progress at getting the project done. I think there's just a couple in the back that he's still working with people to get their personal belongings out of those units so he can tear those down, rebuild, and have a new structure in its place. So this gentleman has been working very closely with us and very accommodating. So I'm recommending granting the extension. Is just up to the commission how long you want to grant it. And typically you do 1 year with renewable. And so maybe that's what we should do.
Did he say how long it was going to take?
Yeah, had he asked for any specific timeline, John?
No.
Okay.
How long has it been for the first one since he started?
It was for 3 years and it's expiring this month.
Well, sounds like a year would do it.
Yeah, I mean, you can always come back and get another year if you had to, I guess.
Right. And I mean, I will admit, if it's just like the last 1 or 2 units and he's dealing with tenants that are paying their bill but just may not be in the area, trying to get that stuff moved, I feel his pain, especially right now. It can be a little bit of a difficult situation. So yeah, I'd be willing to grant a 1 year. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to grant a 1 year extension.
Motion for the 1 year extension.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Who seconded? I'm sorry.
Ryan.
Ryan? Okay, thank you. All right, let me stop sharing this and see if I can quickly bring up the next one. So the next item is the town river. Is that right?
Yes,
Am I
yep,
on the same page as everybody?
yep.
Christopher Hool, sorry, Christopher Hool, a PE for the Division of Ecological Restoration, had asked to speak to the commission about the High Street Bridgewater Dam removal project. He had been talking with people down at DEP and what he was going to need from them for the Chapter 91 license that when you're working adjacent to and under bodies of water, you need to get a license to do that from the state. And after you've received your order of conditions, and you also need a 401 water quality certification from the DEP and I believe the Corps, but I'm not certain of that. But I believe it is under the Clean Waters Act. So they had recommended that he talk to the West Bridgewater Conservation Commission and find out whether you were going to require anything as part of that permitting process. And it was my feeling that since none of the work that was going to be done involved water in land under a body of water in West Bridgewater, that they wouldn't need to file with us. But the person he was talking to at DEP seemed to indicate that that he would need something from the commission, either a letter or actually require some type of filing. So in the meantime, after he asked to get on the agenda, a more senior person down at DEP reviewed the information and has determined that he doesn't have to file with West Bridgewater on that part. So it's only, I'm just giving you a report that's why he's not here tonight to talk, is it's not necessary. And if there's anyone who sees this particular meeting on video, they'll understand that since there is no work in West Bridgewater under the surface of the river or along the banks, there is really no further requirements from it. And I've asked Mr. Hool to give us a copy of the Bridgewater Order of Conditions and any Chapter 91 and 401 water quality certification paperwork he gets from DEP, so we'll have it on file. So that's just an update on that one.
All right, perfect. Thank you for the update.
On Manley Street, which is next, Mr. Snell, if you recall, he has that piece of land at the corner of Manley and United Drive and has his storage boxes and storage trailers on that parcel. And it was a while, maybe a month ago now, that I met with him and a prospective buyer for that property who wants to do the same exact thing and is aware that we have a 50-foot no touch. And so as part of the mitigation to allow the storage units that are already in the 50-foot buffer remain there, Mr. Snell has suggested that the commission be granted recreational rights to the land that he has rights to, which is adjacent to the river and has trails and places for kayak and canoe launching and available parking along Manley Street to access the river. And it sounds like a nice opportunity. And we were going to have him at the last meeting, which was the first Tuesday in January. But he had asked at that time to delay coming back before the commission until he gets his surveys completed on that parcel land in question. but I did get a chance to walk it with him and took some pictures. And there are some great trails and ways to access the river for canoes and kayak, which would give everybody the chance to go from upstream and downstream from Manley Street all the way to the town river. So it's a good opportunity to expand our water and trail system in West Bridgewater. But we still need to hear from Mr. Snell what he will offer and what the paperwork, legal paperwork, plans and so forth show before the commission makes any decision. But it looks pretty interesting at this point. So he's asked to wait until and get put on an agenda once he has all that paperwork done.
Okay.
I guess there were some land swaps and things that had occurred over the years on the parcels behind his storage area. So that's why he wants to square that away before he presents something to the commission.
Did we ever ask what was in those units? I think we did, but I don't recall it.
What he does is he rents them out just like the self-storage people rent out. So people that can access that land at the gate at United Drive. They go in through the gate. They have locks on those storage boxes, and they put their items in there and then take them out. So there's really no way to control what they're putting in there. It could be, I mean, maybe if this new prospective buyer purchases it and wants to file a permit with us for any work that he does within 100 feet or in the, I guess the riverfront isn't touching this particular property. But if he has to get a permit from us for stormwater or anything else, then maybe we can put a condition in there that any of his tenants or people that use the boxes can't store hazardous materials, that kind of thing. But at this point, we have no control over it. But it's a good question that if it does come before us, that we ask that.
All right. Thank you for the update on that one. You have Roberts Way, which was the photo you had shown for the enforcement action.
All right, this is, as you can tell, Roberts Way. Number 4 is right here. This is an aerial photo from the side, and this is the approximate 50-foot buffer. And this was quite a few years back when it was taken. I don't see the date of the photo, but it's a lot like I remembered it looked like. It was a meadow with shrubs popping up like this in various places. And then later, just recently when I was out driving through, this is what it looked like. So this got mowed, and it caught my eye right away. And so I contacted the owner. I did send out information to the commission about the issue, and it's on the agenda tonight because I proposed an agreement with the owner that they wouldn't disturb this anymore in the future and let it grow back on its own, and that they would be fined, and they agreed to it. So let me see if I can call up the agreement.
Did they give a reason for doing that, what they did?
They just thought that there was nothing that would stop them from this is the wrong one. Sorry. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm
No.
apologizing.
You're apologizing for something we can't see. I'm
I
thinking,
don't
Lee,
think
that
they had any markers, Lee.
right, so they didn't
No.
know, they pleaded ignorance and didn't know that there was a 50-foot line there.
And from what you can see that stone wall, so maybe they figured they could probably go over to that stone wall and everything will be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they had any intentions on maybe thinking about building something or putting a road to go back to the house, but that's all they did, which is good. So that should grow back pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
The only thing I had mentioned to John was in the enforcement action and the agreement was possibly at this point, getting markers put in place.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, going forward, that way they're the next person that buys the property would be aware visually right off the bat and wouldn't have to look up a deed or a set of plans or a restriction.
I agree. Yeah.
So this
You-
is the draft agreement that I drew up and sent to them to see if they would agree to it. And I'll go through it real quick. It just says who they are. And that they admit to the facts set forth in the complaint here attached, which would be that they disturbed the 50-foot buffer, and I'll attach it to this agreement. That they'll cease and desist from further disturbance, and I refer to the plan. They'll allow the 50-foot buffer vegetation to grow back on its own and pay a fine of $100 payable to the town of West Bridgewater no later than January 29th, 2021. We can amend that since
Couldn't you put the $100 to the conservation fund?
we have a fines account. So it goes into an account for fines, and I think that's a bylaw. So probably the answer is no. Otherwise, I don't think we could do it if it went into some other fund.
Oh, okay.
By signing the agreement, they represent they can accomplish the full relief contemplated by this agreement, and they will have to give us a report every year in October that they're still in compliance. So I'll have to put a particular on our calendar that says we are owed a report October 31st from the owner of 4 Roberts Way, and if we don't get it, I can ask them, and they'll have to send in a report that says that they're in compliance, and then I can go out and check it. I may end up checking it anyway. So to address what you both mentioned, or a number of you have mentioned, we would add in probably between B and C a requirement to put in conservation markers with signs.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with this other than just wanting to make sure we had markers going forward so that
Yeah.
the next homeowner doesn't decide that would be a great place for a pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Are these the same people that had the house in the beginning, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a plan that shows the 50-foot buffer, but it doesn't say, all it says is 50-foot buffer.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I ran this past the commission yet, but I have a email that's going to go out to all the engineers that will require that the plans that they present to us not only show a 50-foot buffer line, but that the area between the wetland and the 50-foot buffer is a no-touch, do not disturb buffer. And it has to be labeled that way on the plan, or we won't accept it. So there won't be any doubt. We all know what 50-foot buffer means to us, but a new resident coming into the town may not. So with it on the plan and the affidavits that we're now requiring that they understand that, or if we put it into a conservation easement, all those things are starting to let people know that you don't disturb that 50-foot buffer. This particular project was not in that category, so the plan just said 50-foot buffer, and there wasn't any conservation easement required back then, and there weren't any signs required. So I can understand how possibly they would do that, but cut that grass down or the brush and the weeds down. But they should have checked with us, because they know anything within 100 feet, they have to file with the Conservation Commission. But there's always that misunderstanding type situation. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt.
How about a solid shading, John, or a cross hatching? Could that
Right,
be
that's what I
added?
was thinking, come up with a pattern for that 50-foot.
Yep.
That could be referenced on the key, just like when the wetlands are there, they put the wetland marker in.
Really easy to see.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. And one of the people in the past, one of the engineers had labeled it as a restricted area.
Mm.
So that even gives it a little bit more meaning than do not touch, do not disturb.
Mhm.
Restricted almost seems like, uh-oh, we better not go there.
Yep.
Yep.
So if everybody's in agreement, I'll put that together and send it out to the maze with the addition of conservation signs and markers, and give them another week beyond sometime the first week or so into February to get the check into us.
How's the rest of that neighborhood look? I haven't driven over there, so is it sort of any other similar situations or not?
So as it turns out, the back part of the property is a stormwater basin that's adjacent to a wetland. So the lot that's next to that doesn't have a buffer, because the stormwater basin is between them and the wetland. And so this is the only one, the only lot that really had any wetland restrictions on it. There's a lot in the back, but they're more than 100 feet away from the wetland. So they need to be watched, and I'll check aerial photos every once in a while. They're not as easy to spot because they're way back from the end of the cul-de-sac. But by using the aerial photos that are updated almost on a yearly basis, we can catch up with them.
That was going to be my question, how often they're updated. That's pretty good, once a year.
Yep. Yeah. And when I get into a neighborhood for, let's say, some on Forest Street, for example, I'm looking at the aerial photos for that whole area. And if I see something that doesn't look right, I'll go and investigate.
Very good. You need a motion for this one, John, or just?
Yeah, I would feel better. Yeah.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to issue the agreement with the note of adding the added line for conservation markers.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
It moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Okay, next, the town clerk asked various boards and commissions to read this during their public meetings. And it's regarding the 2021 annual census street listing form. And so I'll read it. Attention town residents, it has come to our attention that there is a misprint on the back of the 2021 annual census / street listing form. It states that if you have an asterisk next to your name, you are a voter in Randolph. The town clerk's office is aware of the misprint, and it should say West Bridgewater. You are a voter in West Bridgewater, and you should not to be concerned. You can cross off Randolph and write in West Bridgewater if you would like to. Thank you so much for your understanding. Annie Yandatelli, town clerk. So that's a public service announcement.
Thank you, John.
And I hear that it was seconded by the audience.
It's
All
probably
right.
listed on that town census.
So we had talked about the zoning and the tree clearing regulation at the last meeting, and that we're going to kind of put it on the back burner until we get some word back from the town council. And I just wanted to let the commission know that, because I had mentioned there were some changes, and that I was going to show you some additional exhibits on a subdivision that is coming to us soon, hasn't been submitted yet, but is coming to us, and how they don't qualify in some of the lots. And when you look at the lots, you'll say, how can somebody think that anyone can build on it? So let me see if I can find them. So this is a lot that, a subdivision, I'm sorry, that's coming in off of West Chestnut Street in Brockton. And it's coming off of what they call Ash Street Extension. And it has two roads. One comes in here, crosses over the Brockton line at this point, and then comes down to what they call Lady Slipper Lane or something, to another road, which I'll show you in just a second. But the first lot in, lot number 1, excluding the 50-foot buffer and the drainage easement that's along the property line, it only has 16,600 square feet of land, and just does not leave enough room to put a house in and have a usable backyard. Whereas the next one, I'm sorry, the next one's the same. It's only got 17,000, but lot number 3 has 22,000. So that one has more than enough room to do everything that everybody wants to do for their backyards in a normal residential neighborhood in West Bridgewater. When you get down at the end, you've got lot 8, which has 22, which is again sufficient, leaves enough room, but lot 9 only has 16,500 square feet. And as you can see, by the time you put in the setback from the street, which is 35 feet, it would have the back of the house pretty much at the 50-foot no touch. So in this particular case, the engineer would have to combine some of these lots to make it come out to be the 18,600 that we're proposing.
And they can't move from trying. So is that the minimum that we agreed on, was 18,000?
18,006.
For a house lot?
Yeah.
And I mean, realistically, if they just did a little bit more creative layout, they could probably get almost as much in as what they're looking for.
Yeah, and that will happen in a lot of the cases, that they'll just have to use a little ingenuity on making the lot shape so that they can get that 18,600 square feet. And it would not only take care of what people want to have in their backyards, but also the stormwater requirements that we are looking for, which are recharge areas and rain gardens and things. And if you like on Loop Drive, a lot of their front yards had stormwater basins in the front. And it's just unusable land area for them. Luckily, it was in the front, which not a lot of people want to do a lot of things in the front yard except for have a lawn. But unfortunately, the backyard had no room. So the only place they can play ball with their kids is in the front yard. And unfortunately, a kid's going to be running to catch the football and all of a sudden disappear in the stormwater basin.
Yeah.
So there's good reasons for this, not just arbitrary reasons. And so that's probably the preface to these regulations, that we're going to have to incorporate the reasons for it, the purpose of it, and make sure it reflects the things that we want to protect, which is the stormwater requirements and having enough recharge area that's not part of the wetland system, that kind of thing. So I got another one. I'll show you the other section of this, very similar.
I mean, just after looking at this, my only comment's going to be, I would almost start recommending, even though I hate doing it, saying you're going to do that to a development. Well, that 50-foot no touch line is not just markers now, it's a fence. And it's a 4-foot chain link or stock or whatever that's part of the order conditions, and say, okay, we're going to make it so whoever lives there knows that they can't go past this. I mean, we've had enough of them already that, oh, I just wanted to take down a few trees, and all of a sudden they have 150 feet back from their fence is now cleared, or their deck is cleared. I mean,
apparently they don't care giving us these plans.
Right. I mean, just because it's on the plan, and the markers have even disappeared on some of these lately.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, if you were going to buy a house like that, and now you see the fence right up against your house, you're going to say, oh, wait, I don't like this house. I have no backyard.
And I'd require the fence just like we do the markers. They go in before you start breaking ground.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I
Definitely.
mean,
Yep.
because you're not supposed to work
something like
past
that.
that line anyways.
Especially for something like this, I'm thinking the developer just wants to get what it can get in there, get it done out, and he doesn't care what's going on. But 28,000 on one spot, 16, he can, like you said, get a little creative and take a little bit from one lot and make it a little bit bigger on the other lot if he has to. Right now he's just 24,000 on the other one. I mean, he can do that plenty.
Yeah.
Oh, you already seen that one, and then we got the 15-2.
Wow.
So lot 14's fine, but then you jump across to lot 16 and it's only 14,000. So again, 35-foot setback from the street. It doesn't leave much room except for a lot like 5 Loop Drive, where the deck is right at the edge of the 50-foot buffer.
What would happen if you built a cantilever deck like 40 feet into the buffer zone? Could you do that?
As long as you didn't, if it's a natural buffer zone with trees and so forth, you'd be cutting trees out of there. So that would be a disturbance. So you couldn't do that.
No,
let's say
theoretically.
So if it was let's say a meadow.
Yeah.
And it wasn't likely to have trees sprouting up, which I don't know how you could stop that, but let's say it was a meadow and somebody wanted to cantilever, it might be permittable, but it all depends probably.
I often wondered if they're like air rights of some kind, not ground. But who would do that in the first place?
The construction costs of cantilevering is probably justified.
Yeah, exactly.
So I wanted to point this out because it just shows that we have one in the works, and they're going to have to, depending on when we get the regulation in effect, they're going to have to deal with it, and hopefully we'll have it in effect before they bring in their plans to us. And as it stands right now, it seems like those plans are pretty far off yet from getting into us, so we have time.
Good.
So that's all I wanted to show you on that. And then the other thing I wanted to show you was that Ryan had recommended that we should have an exemption for trees that fall down in the wetlands on its own, and that we shouldn't have somebody penalized to have to replace those trees because Mother Nature tore them down. So I revised the wording on it so that there's a definition of what are storm damaged trees. And they are trees that are blown over or broken during a recent storm event. And then I added in storm damaged trees are defined herein as defined herein, dead trees and snags that pose a threat as compromised trees shall not be subject to the no net loss of tree goal. So what does that mean? Let's see, it's been a while. This is saying that that trees that are a threat or that are storm damaged should not be considered should be not subject to the no net loss of tree goal, which this policy is to deal with people who don't want the trees around their house because, let's say, the pool is going to be shaded, or they fear that it might damage their house if it blew over, but there's no indication that that there is the potential for it other than the fact it's there. So in order to make sure that those types of trees that are not compromised or storm damaged, they get taken down, you have to put in 3 4-foot high trees to every one that you tear down, except for storm damage. So I think that will cover what Ryan was concerned about.
Yeah.
So
no,
if a tree is down, say 50 feet from your house, and it isn't endangering the house in any way, it's mostly cosmetic, would you still take it out or leave it alone?
So sometimes a tree snaps and it leaves a piece sticking up fairly high. You're going to get rid of the piece that broke off and have it cut up, and then you got the remaining piece there that is not a danger, but it just looks ugly. That is a storm damaged trees, and it wouldn't be subject to it.
Would you have to stump it too, or just the tree?
Well, we wouldn't require you to replace it, but
Right.
realistically, it may be ugly, but just leaving it there is the least damaging to anything. I mean, as long as it's cut and just lying on the ground, yeah, it looks ugly, but it's a benefit to the environment. I mean, you're going to have all kinds of critters living in it, and just letting it decay is not a bad thing.
So if it's in the yard, that might be a nuisance, but if it's in the 50-foot buffer and in the wetlands, you are right. Just leaving it there is habitat.
Yeah, I was mostly going if it falls in like somebody in the yard, the grassed in area and gets blown over. Cut that.
As an example, if you want to take a ride past my driveway, just past my mailbox, when Chris had National Grid take the pine trees down that were dead, they just cut them and left them sitting right there in the wetland in a giant pile.
I would think you could take those out.
I would have thought Chris would have had them too, but he just let him just dump them and leave them sitting right there. And it's about 3 80-foot tall pines that are now piled up and going to be there for decades, decaying and rotting. But I'm not pulling them out of the wetland because I didn't put them there.
Yeah, right.
But we're on town property. They were town trees. So.
So
Sure. Do we have anything to sign, John, for?
Yes,
warrants?
you have. Let me. Are you still seeing that?
Nope. We got nothing on the screen.
Oh boy.
Well, we got you and everybody else.
All right. Yeah, it's not on mine either now that I see that. So let me call up the one remaining document.
Looks like it's playtime in the Anderson household.
The little kid just won't leave me alone.
They're always happy when Grandpa's home.
Yeah, no kidding now. Just like having a little kid, that's all it is.
All right, this is a warrant for payable reimbursement for mileage, and it runs $273.13. And this is the log from July 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020. And so what Kitty and I have worked up now is I've given her an Excel chart that I use to do this, and I will give her every 2 weeks, I'll give her my mileage for the 2 weeks. So in the future, there are only going to be small amounts, but rather than spending a lot of time putting this together and getting it ready for the commission, it's easier if I give her the mileage and she puts it on the Excel chart and works up a warrant. So the future ones won't be this high, and they won't be this high also because this rate, 0.575 for mileage as of the first of the year has gone down to 56 instead of 50
Really?
and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I remember when it was like 0.18.
Wow.
I remembered 0.22, but okay,
Yeah.
1/8 beats me.
I probably wasn't paying attention to it, but when I first started my first business ever, it was mowing lawns.
Yeah.
And I was a teenager, and I was buying gas in a big gallon glass cider jug for 25 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
And of course, nowadays you'd be arrested for using an unauthorized container like that could break easily.
Yeah.
But apparently, they think that because the gas prices were so low that
Yeah.
it's now 56.
Yeah.
But I've noticed in the last week that it's jumped by 20 cents or so per gallon. So I think that 56 cents is going to be way out of whack by the end of the next year. So we'll see.
Probably. Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe I'll have to buy an electric car and take advantage of some of those charging stations.
Maybe a town car.
Yes, maybe they have a extra town car to put up.
Everyone else has got a vehicle, John.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, there is a town car, but it's occasionally out of commission and that kind of thing. So it's a little hit.
Oh no, you need an F-150 or something.
So
I'll entertain a motion to approve John's mileage.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
All right, thank you so much on that one, and I'll stop sharing it. And I think that's it.
Okay, I have one thing before, unless anybody else has anything else, but I was just going to ask John, 254 Pleasant Street. That's the site that used to have the steel storage yard, and then they came in with another proposal, I believe, for contractor yard or something, storage units or something. But it looks now like it's just a equipment contractor yard where they're storing a lot of equipment sitting there for extended periods of time.
They fixed the fence.
I know they look like, yeah, it looks like they're pretty clean and pretty new, but I haven't seen everything way back because you can't see everything in there, but there's an awful lot of dump trucks and construction equipment. And that's just a gravel lot that doesn't really have any, anything
if
there
he's-
to catch any debris.
I wonder if he's subbing that out. Is he subbing that out?
Right, well, that's what I'm wondering. I don't remember us having permitted anything
No.
in there for that type of use without some type of regulations. I mean, I know
Mm.
Noonan, when they've come in, we've had them make sure it's paved or they've got some way to catch debris. And I don't know whether they're doing any oil changes or maintenance or repairs, or they're just parking them there.
Yeah, because that was supposed to be just for like metal. to-
Right, it was a
to
set
sit
down
there.
site.
Yeah. But if the equipment, one of those hoses blows or something with a fuel on one of the
Yeah,
trucks.
you get
happen
one
to
of those
go-
big dump trucks with a dual 50-gallon, 100-gallon tank let go.
Yep.
I mean,
I mean,
that it happens often, but they do go.
yep.
Oh, it's funny you mentioned that because just last week, I went down to the site and I asked the building inspector to come with me because I had been doing some off-site observations of what was going on there. And you are right, it was originally for Kyle Johnson Irrevocable Trust, KJ Irrevocable Trust, to store steel. And they were going to build a office building with parking area, septic system, that kind of thing. And then the rest was just a gravel graded storage yard down to a stormwater system. So in my initial observations, I noticed that it was, as you just described it, exactly the way you just described it. And so we set up a time to go down and we met with the person in charge at the site. And it's now owned by Dia Alessandro. I think I got
Oh.
that. And
They're farther down on Scotland Street.
are they?
Yeah, they moved down there. Oh no, wait a minute, no, they're the ones that are over there in Lucini's place.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they must have bought that, or
They bought that, and the little house adjacent to it, as you're looking at the site, it would be just south of the stockade fence. Used to be
Okay, the little white farmhouse.
yeah, and it
they
used to
bought
have
that too.
used to have a horse corral behind it and so
Yeah.
forth.
Yep.
They bought that and the large piece.
Oh
And-
wow.
They thought that they were in compliance with the zoning board's approval for the site and never stopped to ask conservation. And so what's happened is the permit for KJ Irrevocable Trust expired. And so that means everything's null and void and they got to start from scratch. So I'm putting together a memo that'll go out to planning board, zoning board, building inspector, board of health, and of course, Concom members, that this is what I've found. This is what needs to be done to get back into compliance. And I'm going to offer the other boards an opportunity to chime in as to what they either need or don't need. And then we'll start to get them back into compliance. And so really they're using the site without any Concom approval, or because it's expired, they're now subject to the stormwater regulations. Whereas the other one was approved before we were doing the stormwater, other than typical things along the 100-foot buffer. So it's going to be an interesting one to see how it all pans out. The proposal for KG Irrevocable Trust was that they were going to convert it from a steel storage facility to multiple, I don't know how many, but a lot of small contractor units that
Yep,
would tie
yep.
into one big septic system. So right behind the stockade fence that you see running along Pleasant Street, you have a huge sand pit that was dug out to put in a big septic system for those storage units. Well, the way they're using that site now, they won't need half of that area. So we'll see. We'll see where they're going to go with it. But it's funny you mentioned it because we had jumped on it last week, Mike White and the building commissioner and I. So
Well, hopefully they'll be looking to permit and do something sooner than later.
the gentleman I spoke to was very sincere and had the understanding that from the zoning board that it was okay to operate there as a contractor's yard. But he did acknowledge after I asked him, I said, "Did you call us?" And he said no. So he understands. So it's not like this is going to be one of those tough battles. I think it's just a matter of going through the steps to get it back into compliance.
I'm thinking he also may have had a connection with the ZBA chair if he's been on property that was owned by the ZBA chair. So that may have been why he got told what he got told. But that still doesn't give him the free pass.
Every time property changes hands, really it's a
Yeah,
different
it-
ballgame. Yeah.
All right, that was just my question on that one. What was what was the game plan?
So as far as getting forms completed and signed, I am going to assign that to Kitty to make contact with commission members to come in and sign it. It's not ready for you guys to come tomorrow or the day after. So it'll be next week sometime. And I'm going to be on vacation that week. And so Kitty's going to have to make those arrangements. So she'll send out emails and say they're ready and could you stop by type of thing.
Okay.
We're still closed down to the public, but you know, if you're coming to the building and it's open for business type things, just give the office a call and she'll come down and open the door and you can sign it or come in and sign it. Or if you happen to frequent the building way before it opens and way after it closes, like somebody I know, you don't have to worry. Just go in and do it.
On a side note, John, the one nice thing about that site being developed the way it is, I'm sure that the assessors are looking at a very nice excise bill that would eventually be going out. If they're going to be storing that kind of equipment in town, the registration should, I would think, be West Bridgewater registrations. I mean, I know what we pay for a tractor trailer truck or a dump truck at work, and it's not cheap money. So
I think it's a good use for the site. I just think we need to get it into compliance, and they're doing everything's very neat there. So there wasn't some obvious violations. It's just that nowhere near what we had approved. So we have to get it back into shape.
all right, anybody have anything else?
I think there might be one more probably coming up in the future, but up on Lincoln Street there, right where it turns right on, Peter Maroney had that house,
Yes.
which he sold. Now the person who bought it is selling the house, but now they're gonna have the amount of property they're gonna need to be able to put in what they wanted to do a few years ago. So that's probably gonna be the next thing coming. I don't know how much longer, but I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. It's Lamppost Estates.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of prior to beginning work requirements, and we don't want to let the project get too far down the road before all those things are done. So I've been keeping an eye on what's going on there, and I did notice the fellows doing a lot of mowing around the existing house. So I didn't know if it was sold yet or not, but as you said, Lee, they may be getting it ready for sale, and so they're sprucing it up a little bit. I
They
don't
had
know.
it on the market. I know they had it on the market, so.
Okay.
On it, so whether it's sold or not, but I know they've got it on the market, so. But, so that'd be the next thing that's gonna probably come in after that too, so who knows?
I will definitely call the guy that's going to develop it and reemphasize that we have a whole list of prior to work
Yep.
requirements and get into talk to me about it.
Right.
That's all I have.
Anybody else have anything? If not, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that one.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Have a
Have a
good
good night.
evening.
Too.